Alright, so on this episode of
I'll make you famous.
Here, we got a guy who thinks he knows everything. Because why? Because he's a cop, of course. So, let's go ahead and give some context. So, in the last video that I uploaded, it was a security guard here in the DMV, specifically PG County, who used his firearm and shot and killed an innocent man, unlawfully. So, in the video, I went ahead and I put inside the video why he was wrong. I even referenced the laws. I even referenced what the law said that he was going to be judged by. And without fail, there's always at least one guy who comes in and just wants to challenge me because he thinks he knows everything. So we're going to go ahead and make you famous. I'm going to help you out, okay? Because it's your bad information that is out here getting people locked up and killed, okay? So let's go ahead and let's talk about it, okay? So if you look above me, but this is my way. The first thing that this guy says in the comment section of the video is, "You're wrong. If you have a belief that you are in fear of serious bodily injury or death, you can use deadly force whether they're armed or not. If you're armed, there is a gun in the fight." What? Dude. Maryland Parent Jury Instructor... Okay, let's go ahead and take a step back, okay? Maryland Parent Jury Instructor Criminal Chapter 5, Section 7, Self-Defense. The very first criteria of that law says, and I even put it in the video so that way I reference this so you can see it for yourself, is it says, you are not the initial aggressor, or although you are the initial aggressor, you did not raise a fight to a deadly force level. There's nothing to debate. It's public information. It's the law. There is no there's interpretation of it, but it literally says it right there. You, the defense cannot raise fight to deadly force level. You can only use deadly force in response to their deadly weapon here in the state of Maryland. So already you're wrong, all right? But yeah, you're saying I'm wrong. So, but however, why am I wrong? Okay, why are you right? Why are you right? Why am I wrong? All right, well, apparently according to this right here, you spent 30 years in law enforcement and taught at the Federal Law Enforcement Training Center. Oh, boom. I'm not even going to read any more of that. Okay, let me go ahead and stop you right there. Boss. Law enforcement. Keyword, law enforcement. Guess what? Okay, and you should know this because apparently you're training people, but then again, you don't. This is one thing I always tell all my students. Do not compare yourself to law enforcement, okay? There's a distinction how the law is going to judge you. If you're not a cop, you're a civilian. Point blank period in the story. It's that black and white. So, this is oftentimes why I say do not listen to law enforcement when it comes to advice on self-defense or firearms or anything else like that. The reason why is because they don't know what they're talking about, because they're giving you advice from a law enforcement perspective. They're giving you advice that only applies to them. It doesn't apply to you. So if you try to do what they do, you're going to get locked up. We can't do what they do. The laws are going to judge us where it's going to judge them because they have state-sanctioned powers or government-sanctioned powers. We are civilians through and through. Even if you're a security guard, you are still going to be judged as a civilian. You may have a little more wiggle room, a little more leeway because you're a security guard, but at the end of the day, you're still a civilian. You're not a cop. So, for 30 years, you taught cops how to be cops, but you didn't teach civilians how to follow civilian law. That's where people like me come in, and that's why I tell people, don't listen to people like you because you're going to get them locked up and killed, which you did. So yeah, it's simple as that. Okay, so apparently anytime someone is armed, there's a gun in the fight. If that guy knocks you out, he has access to a gun. Then don't get knocked out. There's a solution. Learn how to fight. Don't get knocked out. Use your other non-lethal weapons. Boom, there you go. So because you chose to bring a firearm into the fight by just, choosing to conceal carry it, it gives you a right to use it because the possibilities. Though here's the thing about Maryland. Maryland is not a coulda, woulda, shoulda, thought, felt, believed state. Maryland's either it is or it isn't. It did or it didn't happen. You cannot go into a court of law and say, oh, he could have knocked me out and took my gun, but did he though? Well, he didn't. Oh, so he didn't, so therefore you took your gun out unlawfully. Okay, you're going to jail. There's no coulda, woulda, shoulda, thought, felt, believed. There is it did or it did not happen. And in the video, we saw it. The guy didn't reach for no gun. He didn't try to take no gun. No, he was just defending himself against the guy using a baton on him. He was using non-deadly force. It was the security guard who raised the situation to a deadly force level. But at no point the gun was required. But of course you wouldn't know that. Because you're teaching guys that, oh, you got a gun, so therefore you can use it because that guy might knock you out. Okay, well, you see how well that worked out. But it goes on. Now, so apparently somebody else, whoever this guy is, Eddie, you the man. You actually know what you're talking about, okay? So I appreciate you, okay? So shout out to you. However, you go on to continue to say, that's a different story. That situation will play out in court. If the security officer is in the wrong, he will and should be prosecuted. His de-escalation tactics were poor. So did you just argue against yourself? What are you talking about? You just argued against yourself. So I'm wrong, but however, the courts are agreeing with what I said. Why? Because they're literally trying to prosecute the guy right now. So what are you talking about? So here's the thing I have a problem with people. If you see, I have no problem being wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm gonna stand on it and say, look, I was wrong. I gave out bad information. I'm gonna correct it because I gave out bad information. I can own that. However, you clearly can't. So I'm wrong, but I can't even I can't even make sense of it because you're saying you apparently according to you he didn't have to de-escalate the situation, that he could use his firearm because he had a reasonable belief that he could have got knocked out. Your own words right here are contradicting what you said earlier, where you're trying to prove me wrong, but ended up proving me right. So let's go on, okay? So of course I say, get ready to be made famous. Yeah, because I'll make you famous because you're one of these tactical Carls. And then you go on to say, you HQL guys crack me up. HQL guy, really? That's the best you can come up with? Nah, dude, I'm a certified handgun instructor both through the NRA, USCCA, and I'm certified to issue out both the Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Florida, Virginia, Arizona, DC, CCWs. I got credentials, buddy. Your credentials don't work. You want to know why your credentials don't work? You want to know why your training doesn't work? Because everything that you just said landed this guy in jail. So you sit there saying that I'm wrong, but if you're wrong, will you go back and say, hey man, I was wrong. My advice sucked. Because your advice got this man killed, okay? And don't try to go back and delete no comments because it's all screenshotted, okay? So you're going to stand on business, okay? I'm going to hold your feet to the fire because you're going to own this one. Because Maryland, yes, they're trying to charge him with murder. Actually, no, they're not trying to. They are going to charge him with murder because he murdered a man. Your advice. This is why I tell people, do not take advice from police. Not to say all cops don't know what they're talking about. No, there are some cops that are pretty solid that I'm just fire. But most cops do not know what they're talking about. Most cops think that they know everything, not because they know more than you or me, but because they're cops. Nothing more, nothing less. Just because, I'm a cop, so therefore I know more than you. That ain't how this works. So that's the problem. So I tell people, do not, anytime you hear advice from a cop, take it with a mouthful of salt. Because 9 times out of 10, they don't know what they're talking about. They're going to give you advice that they can use, they can implement, but you cannot. And they don't know how to make that distinction. So their advice, their tactics, their everything is going to get you either locked up or killed. But most likely locked up. So, yes, your advice got this man facing murder charges because apparently he had a reasonable belief that, hey, I got a gun, so therefore the guy can come in and take my gun, so I gotta shoot him because he's swinging on me. But yet, you're wrong because Maryland is trying to prosecute him, so, hey, you're wrong. So now I'm gonna hold your feet to the fire, okay? Take a look at that face right there. I want you to take a good look at that face. I want you to own it. I want you to stand on business. I want you to look at this face. I want you to ingrain it to your memory, okay? I want you to understand that your advice got this man locked up and got another innocent man killed. So now you have somebody's death and somebody locked up in jail because of your advice. Now, it wasn't directly your advice, but I guarantee you, at some point throughout this security guard's life, somebody told him the same information you gave him was, hey, if you're in a reasonable belief, fear for your life, you can take your gun out and shoot somebody. The person trying to attack you. Somebody at some point told him that, and he listened to it, and he did it, and look where it got him. Facing charges. So, take a good look at this face right here. You're responsible for why this 50-something-year-old man is going to spend the rest of his life in jail. Own it. Your advice got him here. Your advice got another man 6 feet under. Your advice. Embrace it. That's all I'm going to leave it at. Okay, just imagine having to spend your golden years, okay, the remainder of your life. You're half a century old. You're going to spend the other half of that century in jail because you listened to somebody else's advice because apparently they were a cop. Only because they were a cop and they claimed they knew something, but the thing they knew got you locked up, and another man killed. So yeah, so I mean, it really sucks for this guy, but I mean, at the end of the day, it's his fault. But at the end of the day, I can't blame him because somebody like you gave him some bad advice, and now he implemented that bad advice, and now it got him where he's at right now. So now that I'm done making you famous, okay, now I'm gonna take it back to the viewer, okay, because I want you guys to understand, okay, We are civilians at the end of the day. We follow civilian law. We cannot do what the cops do because we do not have state or government sanctioned powers. Okay? Most of these states, they call it a concealed carry for a reason. Okay? You conceal carry for personal protection. All right? We gotta be careful how we use these laws. We gotta have an understanding of the law. Because if you don't understand the law, you're subject to some bad advice. You're subject to getting prosecuted. Okay, and this guy is the latest example of it because he followed some bad advice from a cop, which most people would think cops know what they're talking about. Unfortunately, on my experience, being 3 years into this industry, 10 years into security overall, cops don't know what they're talking about when it comes to civilian tactics, civilian use of force, civilian law, civilian everything, because they're not civilians. They got state sanctioned powers. So, understand the laws. Please understand the laws, okay? Anytime a cop tells you something, just take it with a grain of salt. Alright? So, please stay safe, stay out of jail, stay safe. All the above. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.